was actually possibly more concerned with gambling side of things as opposed to actually playing the game of football. Right. So the football match got in the way of my time gambling.
So I sort of started to use my own money, but I would start borrowing legitimately, should we say. So I'd get loans and credit cards and stuff like that. But when those were exhausted, I started to sort of, commit crime and fraud and theft to finance my gambling, because obviously it felt like it was the only way to get out of it at that time.
I wanted to find an alternative to match betting. I was the classic person that thought, it's not going to happen to me. My doctor did check up on me every 6 months. The nurse checked up on me. They asked me the question, is gambling a problem? I said, no. I said to my wife it wasn't a problem. I actually didn't think...
So you kept it hidden?
I didn't think it was a problem.
Oh, you genuinely didn't think it was
a
problem?
No, I thought I'm going to crack this eventually.
Right.
At the root of gambling addiction for very many women is trauma and the struggle to cope alone with life and responsibility.
So I immediately, and I don't know why, asked the question, do you have an issue with gambling? I might have even said, do you have a gambling addiction? And as the words came out of my mouth, thinking, I don't even know if that's something that even exists,
I've heard before that betting shops and casinos can be very overwhelming for those on the autism spectrum. Why is that, Alistair, in your words?
Sure. So I think an important aspect of autism to note is struggle with oversensory stimuli. So things like bright lights, flashing lights, bright sounds, too many people. So we can think about the way in which betting shops and casinos are structured in a way that is uniquely non-neuro-inclusive.
Because there was a lot of secrecy, there was a lot of lies there, and eventually it kind of came out one evening. My husband told me he was supposed to be somewhere and he wasn't, and then it kind of all came out that he'd actually been gambling for some time, and we'd actually lost pretty much everything that we kind of had financially.
When did you think you started to realise it might be a problem?
Probably not for about 20 years.
Wow.
I reckon I was probably into my 40s before. It's denial and getting so used to lying to other people and yourself.
Did you ever admit to how much it was?
Not really, because I think a gambler only ever talk about his wins, and the losses are always at the far back of the brain. But probably lost way over 20,000 towards 50 at times throughout the career.
When I joined West Ham, I thought it was fine. I was earning quite a lot of money, or a lot of money, and I thought I was fine with it. But the 20 turns into £20 turns into £40, or £40 turns into £80, and when you've got a means to it, every story is completely relative. But when you've got a means to make those bets even bigger, and you are in the midst of an addiction, the bets are ultimately naturally going to become bigger. That's just the way the addiction works. What it did for me anyway.
That happened, Ian, that cycle of me stealing money, me gambling, me running out of money, and then turning, because I'm feeling so low, turning to then, actually I need to gamble again. What do I need to do this? Oh, I need more money. And then turning to stealing. That happened for 3 long and very painful years.
HMPPS across the country have a drug strategy, and that drug strategy only includes substance misuse and alcohol. There's no mention anywhere in the drug strategy for the country around gambling harms. Right. So this was something that was causing the prison's problems in identifying those that need our service.
Although you have big wins, and this, as you probably know, you have big wins, but because of the nature of gambling, you will always go back to it.
So in the height of it, I was doing £1,000, £2,000 bets. The most I've ever won on one bet is 10 grand on the nose of a horse. Mm-hmm. The most I've ever lost in one sitting was 9,000. And out of all of that, I accumulate £250,000 in debt.
I think it comes down to a lot of things. So for me, it comes down to the fact that I actually felt valued. So I felt valued by the bookmaker, because the bookmaker was saying to me, have a free bet, have a free spin.
When I had my daughter, she was my third child, I decided to breastfeed, and that meant that I was sort of sitting for long periods of the day. I found myself either feeding pumps or etc. And it's quite boring. So with I found myself resorting to sort of like online gaming, and while sitting there like watching daytime TV, an advert came up for Tombola Bingo, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give that a little go.
I can only talk for myself, but I got to that point when every morning I woke up, one, I didn't really like myself, and two, I didn't trust myself for that day, because I knew that day I was going to go out and gamble. So luckily I reached that point when I did.
And obviously the bigger the whirlpool got, the bigger the lies became, the bigger the debt became, the bigger the loans became. And it ended up, as I say, after years and years of doing this, ended up in sort of like standing up in front of a Crown Court judge. And I was admitted to psychiatric care, which was needed at the time. I mean, I had an attempt on my life.
I was experimenting. I was doing lots of theories on Betfair, and I would persist with certain.
So you were looking for the magic formula?
Yeah, I was looking for something like, as the example being, I saw the odds were 1,000 to 1 for over 8 goals in the game. Now I thought, to me, it must be less than 1,000 games before you get a 9-goal thriller or something like that. And I sort of chased that and I persist with it.
I was determined to save the relationship. I think there was 2 different things going on for me at that time. I had a family. I had 2 small children. I'd invested the biggest time of my adult existence in this one person, and I didn't see in any way that this was going to be the thing that tore us apart to the degree it did. But I'd be lying to say that's not exactly what it did.
If we think about the way it's structured as well, online gambling, it's uniquely predisposed towards ADHD and autism. And I suppose the important thing to note when we're talking about gambling related harms is that ADHD and autistic people do have a greater risk of addictive behaviours.
In my opinion, I do believe it is to do with mental health. We know that it is. I love that term when people say, why don't you just stop? Yeah. If only it were that simple,
Absolutely.
So
because I didn't particularly want to stop gambling. I enjoyed it. I told myself I enjoyed it, and the person I was back then enjoyed it because that was my only escape. Ridiculously, the thing that was causing me all the trouble was my escape.
Veterans are 10 times more at risk of gambling-related harms than the general public. Why do you think that is?
So, a veteran myself, wear my badge today with great pride. So it's, I think it's coming out of the military. A lot of service personnel at the minute find to take that step into a new process, new team.
There was stories coming out in the press, and the nonsense stories around I've seen in William Hill in Loughton picking up a pound off the floor and all that rubbish. And
I knew because of the amount of money I'd stolen, I was going to go to prison.
I later learned that he'd been gambling for 45, nearly 50 years, so his entire adult life.
That's what he does.
That's what he did.
There's something which is in the South Asian culture, which is sharam, which means shame. And it's a big thing because there's this big fear at, what if my family find out? What if the people don't talk to me? What if society finds out?
Did you ever have any thoughts of taking your own life?
Probably the day that I decided to stop gambling. So the day that I decided to reach out for help. So I reached out to my employee assistance program at work, and they said that it was shocking what they said, to be honest. They said, you need too much support than we can offer you. And I thought to myself,
this is what they said at work?
Yeah.
I still felt in control at this point, even though I was leaving myself with 0 balance in my bank. I still felt like I was fully in control of this, and I'm not addicted.
And I think one of the things that we discovered was the gambling was a great way to distract me from the realities of what I was facing with my health.
What kind of a person am I that I didn't spot that he was having all these issues, and like what does that say about me and the way I, was I so consumed in myself, and I did beat. I think that's the right way of saying it. I beat myself up for too long.
it can be so isolating. We hear that a lot. You feel like you are the only one going through something like this, and it's great to hear that you're not. But unfortunately, at the time for me, it was. I did feel like that because there wasn't the support there.
Was it relief for you?
Yeah, pure relief. Pure relief, Ian. Yeah, it really was. The best thing I ever did was come clean to my family.
Yeah.
seeing the effect that it had on them.
Yeah.
I didn't. Again, you're selfish. You're a liar, compulsive liar. You only think about you and you only. That was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So if you're from the South Asian community, there's a word called izzat, which means honor. There is no honor in suffering in silence. The best thing you can do is to ask for help, because you're not alone. There's people out here that have been where you are right now, that have come out the other end, and that can help you through that process and hand-holding you.
I thought I was the only woman in the world to be doing this, because what woman would gamble away money that would feed their children? You know.
In the end, it wasn't the did I win or did I lose, getting the buzz out of that. It was actually placing the bet. That's how bad it got for me. I wasn't absolutely buzzing when it won, because I was thinking, well, I'm probably going to do that money back anyway. It was having the means to place the bet is where I got the buzz towards the end.
6 weeks after Peter quit gambling, his father was passing away.
Wow.
And I managed to have the opportunity to hold his hand and say he's done it.
Fantastic. What a lovely end.
That was a great moment.
And then what society would think of me, especially from the South Asian community, because there's such a high pressure on that. The easiest way to do it was to take my own life. And on 18th August 2020, I tried to put my car into central reserve on the M1, hoping that I wouldn't wake up.
It's got to come from yourself, and it's the hardest thing to do in the world. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Is stop gambling. And
it sounds like one of the best things as well, Martin.
No, it's the hardest, but the best thing I ever did, because I wouldn't be here anymore. So, and that is the God's honest truth.
The ultimate thing is the gambler's got to want to do it, and it's got to realise that you're not going to win.